A generational, pivotal political moment is capturing Canada. America is openly hostile and threatening annexation. Trump is trying to make Canada the 51st state. Fascism is rising across the globe. You've got America, led by the fascist Trump, a far-right Pinochet supporter, son of a literal Nazi radical, was just elected in Chile. White supremacist political parties are leading in the polls across Europe. Got the AfD in Germany, Reform Party in the UK, and so on and so forth. There are ongoing imperialist wars and large humanitarian crises. Neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes is becoming normalized in the public eye, and he's rapidly gaining influence in the American right. Amongst all this darkness, Canadians want a stronger left-wing option. An option that will stand up and advocate for the benefit of the working class. Now, despite this deeply disturbing dark political moment we're in, Canada's largest left-wing party, the New Democratic Party, or the NDP, is attacking the left flank of its party by disqualifying anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist, socialist candidate for the NDP leadership, Yves Engler. The NDP are left-bashing in the face of rising global fascism. Who is this guy? Yves Engler is a Montreal-based activist, writer with a 2-decade-long history of anti-imperial critiques of the Canadian government's foreign policy in particular. He has been critical of the Canadian government's foreign policy in Palestine, Haiti, Congo, Rwanda, Venezuela, and many more. One of his first outings as an activist was when he was kicked out of Concordia University for protesting Benjamin Netanyahu coming to speak at the university in the early 2000s. So he's been at this for a while and deserves some credit for that. He is well known in Canadian pro-Palestine circles for his consistent holding power to account. What he does is he records public officials and repeatedly asking them questions in a street journalism format. Questions about Canadian foreign policy and the destruction that it causes.
Do you think that Canadians, Montrealers, who participate in the genocide in Gaza, who join the Israeli military, should they be prosecuted under Canada's War Crimes and Crimes Against Humanity Act? Do you think they should be prosecuted?
He's a left-wing agitator, okay? He's a bit of a shit disturber.
How many Palestinian children have to be killed before you end all Canadian arms, charity, and intelligence ties to Israel? How many Palestinian children have to be killed before you end that?
But throughout his advocacy, he has maintained a nonviolent, pacifist perspective and output that is undeniable. He goes around recording everything. He hasn't hurt anyone. He just is holding power to account, which is something everybody should want.
100 Palestinians were killed in the last 24 hours. Ms. Plante, do you have any comment on the 200 Palestinians killed? Do you have any comment, Ms. Plante, on the famine? Ms. Plante, do you have any comment on the famine in Gaza? Ms. Plante.
He was nominated in the summer of 2025 by the NDP Socialist Caucus. It's a more radical left-wing faction within the party, but in the party nonetheless. He says he has over $100,000 in donations, far more than the required signatures for nomination and grassroots activist support. I think it's undeniable that at his current level of support, he's ahead of some other candidates. His campaign's central message is capitalism can't be fixed, onwards to a socialist future. Sounds pretty good. He is also controversial in that he is anti-establishment, has been very critical of the NDP. His activist style and advocacy rubs some people the wrong way, particularly the establishment brass in the NDP. And they have a lot of ammo to wield because he's been doing this for a while. Also controversial in that he began campaigning for NDP leadership outside of the party apparatus as part of a strategy, a stated strategy to build up support and momentum so it would be harder for the NDP vetters to quietly disqualify him before the shows even started. So in a way, he's breaking the rules of the NDP. Please, if you liked this video, subscribe to see more of my perspectives. Comment if you disagree. In late November 2025, 3 unelected, unidentified NDP brass unilaterally decided to disqualify Yves Engler from the leadership contest. A blatantly undemocratic act to disenfranchise NDP members. This is in the aftermath of the worst electoral outcome for the NDP ever. A complete collapse of the NDP in the 2025 election. So in the aftermath of the NDP's worst result ever, the same leadership is deciding to divide the diminished and electorally devastated NDP base. I will get into their justification for disqualification later. Before we get into that, why it's a losing strategy in the face of rising fascism. We have to take fascism seriously. So I'm just going to drop labels. Orange Party has just suffered the greatest defeat in its party history. Orange Team got dominated by the blue and red parties. So much they aren't considered an official party at the federal level. So after this result, they need a new leader. The leadership race commences. There are 5 candidates that are officially approved by the Central Party and 1 not approved. Let's say for simplicity that the membership base supports the candidates in equal proportions. So each candidate is the preferred leader for 1/6 of the party. And let's say there are 60,000 party members. It's a simplification, it's just to prove the point. So each candidate is the preferred choice for leadership of 10,000 party members. The central leadership of the party, 3 unelected, unnamed individuals. These are the same leadership members that just led the party to the worst defeat ever. Decide that the most left candidate is disqualified, disenfranchising 10,000 party members that preferred this candidate. As a result, the party gets significantly smaller. They're attacking and dividing their small base of support by silencing a significant portion of them. Allies, party members who share the same values. A faction of the party is just not represented. It's unfair. And this also inevitably casts doubt on the legitimacy of the remainder of the leadership race. The Orange Team is a small fry in a sea of right-wing blue and red parties. I got news. The way to win elections is to expand and retain the party base. I know, it's crazy. Call me crazy, but the way to win in a democracy is to get the most votes. It is politically unproductive for 3 people to be able to disenfranchise thousands of party members. Failed leaders, anti-democratically, dividing the base is toxic to coalition building when the left needs unity now more than ever. This is a complete failure of a political strategy led by certified political losers. There is an extra permission structure provided to criticize Yves Engler because he is not an official candidate. The Central Party brass have designated Yves Engler as an undesirable member and candidate. So this invites hyper-scrutiny and empowers people to spread lies and misinformation about a candidate. I've seen people affiliated with other campaigns suggest things like he's a grifter or maybe that he's breaking the law without any evidence, purely vibes-based. The hyper-scrutiny and focusing on a single guy is unproductive leftist infighting. In the face of rising global fascism, we have to make the most of our time building and organizing the party. Fight between leftists is a pure distraction, especially over a personal distaste for a candidate. It's irrelevant to the political reality that we're facing. We are facing several existential crises. Imperialism and ecocide come to mind. The left needs to be smart, and it needs to be unified, and it needs to have solidarity. Purging members who share the same values from the party is a losing strategy. The NDP are diminished and weakened. We are against the 2 main pro-capitalist status quo parties with wealthy donors. The odds are stacked against them. We need strength, and strength is found through unity, community, and solidarity. And numbers. You need votes. to win. A personal distaste that you might have for one specific candidate is completely immaterial to the leadership race. I'm sorry, it just is. People shouldn't be going around justifying disenfranchisement based off their own personal vibes and dislike of someone. That would be really weird to see people doing it for other candidates, but that permission structure is wider, so people just say, fuck it, let it rip. The material impact is what I want to focus on. The material impact of this disqualification is a wrecking ball to coalition building at such a time of weakness. The NDP coalition is organized around people and shared values. All candidates should be criticized. This is a leadership selection process. People need to be critical. This is a very important decision to decide the future of the party. However, the solution to disagreements, misunderstandings, is a unified community among the membership. And unity is not made through exclusions. The answer is to simply let the membership decide. Let the members decide the future of the party. It should be a democratic, free, and fair election. This is just one of the reasons why I think Yves should be allowed to run. This is politics. There are disagreements, there are dislikes. No one can please everybody. But the health of the overall party is better when everyone feels represented at the table. NDP members believe in working class politics. We want justice and we want anti-imperialism. We disagree on some of the politics, but the core values of the base remain. Yves Engler and people who support his candidacy are not enemies of the NDP. They are allies who share the same values as the other members in the party. They just disagree with the central brass. The Socialist Caucus are not enemies of the main body politics. They're allies who should not be disenfranchised. A divisive decision dividing the base in the face of rising global fascism. This is completely unnecessary. Just let the membership decide. I want every member to feel as represented and heard as possible. Free and fair leadership election is the way to build the strong coalition. After such a monumental defeat, there are many ongoing efforts trying to reclaim the party by taking power from the central brass and giving it back to the members and EDAs. Allowing Yves Engler to run is 100% in line with the principle of empowering members over the failed central brass. Here are more reasons you should want him in the race. Grassroots, bottom-up party autonomy, party democracy, solidarity within the NDP coalition, fairness to all NDP members, different and new leftist perspectives that make the debate richer, more radical policy positions like making all utilities publicly owned. This shifts the window of discussion to the left. We're tired of leaning to the center, trying to being the Liberal Party light. It's a failed strategy. We have to look left. And he also speaks French fluently, which is a very important representation in Canada. And none of the other candidates speak French above a 6th grade level. There was a French leadership debate that was a complete disaster and held 80% in English. The NDP has already screwed up on French representation. There are all of these good reasons to want him in the race. And the counter arguments are, I don't like his vibes. I think he's meanie bobini. Onto the vetting decision itself. Saucy tea. To keep this video short, I won't be covering the entire email correspondence between Yves Engler's team and the NDP brass. However, Yves' team have released all communications for the sake of transparency. I encourage everyone to go read it, especially if you agree with the vetting committee's decision. You should see what you're agreeing with. It is a healthy thing to hear the other side's perspective in a democracy. But here are my few points that I found particularly questionable and objectionable. The NDP brass unironically wrote that Norm Finkelstein, a Jewish anti-Zionist advocate, author, activist, is anti-Semitic. The NDP is so ideological horse blinders on. That's the only way to be so ignorant to claim that Norm Finkelstein is anti-Semitic. The NDP cite a blue sky impersonator of Yves Engler, pretending it is him. It's crazy. The NDP brass cited many letters of concern from the public. Now, I personally suspect, since Yves Engler has been a target of Zionists for years now, people like Dahlia Kurtz, I suspect that the vast majority of public emails are coming from Zionists, racist Israel supporters. Also, why are people outside of the party having any say in this at all? The NDP says Yves' street journalism style is harassment, and the only link that they provide is this short questioning of Jagmeet Singh in public, the last leader.
I have a question for you.
You're not going to come in.
Are you okay to be
come in
aligned with the U.S. neocons on China? Are you okay with being aligned with U.S. neocons on China? Are you okay? I come to that. No, Mr. Singh, you just called for Han Dong to be removed from the Liberal caucus. You just removed. You supported the election interference ban.
That's it? That's harassment? Loudly asking questions, holding political leaders to account is harassment? What a stupidly outrageous thing to claim. Our political leaders are accountable to us. If loudly asking questions of our political leaders is harassment, we might as well just shut down the press. The NDP cites being critical of NATO is, quote, promoting authoritarian and anti-democratic narratives. This one, the NDP brass says Yves has been too critical of the party, and they get to decide what kind of dissent is allowed. He's being mean to us. I think everyone should be against banning leadership candidates based on being critical of Central Party. Central Party shouldn't have a complete domination of the party politics. They must be criticized. These points aren't just red flags of why this vetting decision is so stupid. They're neon signs of complete incompetence. Just signs flashing saying losers here. It's sloppy, incompetent, and unconvincing. A leaked internal NDP email sharing talking points about the disqualification claimed that, quote, it is not about ideology or policy positions, and encouraged other party members to repeat this line. I would raise the fact that much of their disqualification reasons are ideological, the most obvious one being Yves' opposition to NATO, and citing that as anti-democratic and promoting authoritarianism. Being against NATO has a rich tradition in the NDP. It is an anti-imperialist perspective. Just because if you disagree doesn't mean it's justification to disqualify and disenfranchise party members who might think and feel that way. That is entirely political and ideologically driven. It's just a blatant lie to claim that it's not about ideology or policy. In my view, this email shows that the NDP brass is covering their asses because no member likes the idea of complete policy domination by centralized power. The members should decide the ideology and policy. So as a response to this blatant lie being spread, Yves' team has called for Lucy Watson's immediate resignation from party leadership. She is a deeply, deeply, deeply unpopular party leader, disliked by the EDAs and seen as a primary driver behind the complete collapse of the party. Remember, not even considered an official party anymore. In my opinion, and I think a lot of people share this, she's gotta go. NDP members who might think otherwise likely have way more smoke for a candidate that they personally just dislike than the failed party leader. And to those people I say we should have our eyes on the prize, which is winning an election. Okay, we need to win, and the leadership is trying to lose. And now is the time for changes further leftwards. Solidarity forever. Thank you all for watching. Free Palestine. Peace and love. Bye bye. Fuck Mark Carney.